Okay, so on last previous videos, we've seen how to uh, insert information or sending the information that we get from our app to Firebase. So we've seen how to store information to Firebase. So what we're going to do, we're going to try to do right now, or what we're going to do is to read all the information or all users that are coming from Firebase. So we're going to see how to retrieve all users that have been stored on Firebase. Okay, so this is just a dummy UI. Okay, so sorry, we'll not focus much on the great user interface. We'll see other videos later on how to polish and make sure and make your user interface, responsive, clean, and all those stuffs. But for now, it's just we are focusing mostly on functionalities and making them in a professional way. Okay, so we are not going to dive much on the UI. So this is just a fancy UI, just a normal UI. So it doesn't have a lot of things. But the purpose here, we're going to see how to get all this information from Firebase and retrieve them and show them on the UI. So we're going to see the steps that are supposed to be involved in making sure we see all the users that are in Firebase. Okay, so this is I've just hard coded. It's just a list view dot builder with I've made them just 20, and this is just a UI. It's just show the user and the first name and last name. Okay, but what we're going to do is we're going to see how to make this dynamic and get all those information from Firebase. Okay, so let's continue. So let's just close this because we don't need it right now. Okay, and then we are going to see. Okay, so always because we've already done the heavy part of doing some setting up and all those kind of necessary informations and necessary folder structures that are needed, when we are going to continue adding more features. So for us, we are still in the same feature. We are, as you know, we are still in user. Okay, so there will be authentication later on. There will be a lot of other features, but for now we are still in user. Okay, so what we're going to do is we've done the UI. I've saved all of us the trouble and time to do the UI part. So what we're going to do, always we're going to start in the domain layer. Okay, so whenever we need to add anything or to add other functionalities or other requirement, we're going to go right from the domain layer. Okay, so this is where we're going to add the interface for all those necessary feature. Okay, so for the user entity, we're almost done, unless you have another stuffs that have been added. That will depend on the backend side. Okay, for us, we don't need to add anything, and I don't want this to be so much complex. You will continue and you will take this and change it to another feature, and then you put as much as you can, make it as much complex as you want, but just want to keep things very simple. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is you're going to add this another method that it's going to an interface. Okay, so it's this is going to get all users from Firebase, and so it's going to be a stream of list of user entity. Okay, we are using stream because we have real-time capabilities when we're using Firebase or Cloud Firestore. Okay, so we have this capability. So stream meaning we're going to continue to listen for any document that will be added. We're going to have that real time. So when we will add user, we will see how it will happen automatically. It will pull for us instead of us to fetch again. So when you are using normal APIs, there's that kind of refreshing you have to do, but for stream there's no need to do that. Okay, so we go quickly to use case, and here we're going to define get all user. Okay, got that. Okay, so okay, so what we're going to do here, we're going to define a use case for this, what we're trying to achieve. We just want to get all the users from the Firestore, so we're going to create a use case for it. Okay, single responsibility. Okay, so we're going to say get all user use case. Okay, and we're going to say implement use case without params. Okay, so we don't need to pass anything. Okay, list of user entity. Okay, and then we need to import this. Okay, so get all use case missing. Of course we need, let's get one we call. So always use case depends on user repository. Okay, user repository that make sure that it's coming from user repository from the domain, not user repository implementation. Okay, we're going to generate construct. Okay, this is a required. Okay, and here what we're going to do, simple, we are going to return user repository, and then we're going to say get all users. Okay, so we've defined that user use case. Okay, so after doing this, the next step is we are going to the all the way to data layer. Okay, so there we're going to add that method. Okay, so this is good once you define and keep all the boilerplate, and it's easy to add other small functionalities. Okay, so we go to we're done with domain layer, that's all. Okay, we go to user repository, add the method, create a use case for this. Okay, so we've already did that, and if you forgot, this is just to have uniformity, you know, like this is how we define a use case. Okay, this is good to keep everything in order. Okay, so if you have a use case that has it's accepting params, you use this. If you don't have, it is. Okay, so, and this is for future. Okay, use case without params. Okay, so of course here we can go much deeper with using generics, but okay, it's not. Let's leave it as it is. Okay, so now let's go to data layer. Okay, so in data layer, we still need this model. We're going to use this method from snapshot. We're going to see how it is. So we don't need to add anything. And as you know, here it depends on user remote. It depends on remote source. Okay, so we will go directly to data source, and then we're going to add. Okay, so we've already add this. Okay, I think from the previous videos. Okay, so you add this, a stream of list of user model. We are using model because we want to do some kind of data manipulation and get those data and then convert that to that in order to understand that, for that to understand, and then we're going to show and display that to our final user. Okay, so we go directly to user remote source implementation, and then we're going to see here how do we retrieve all users. Okay, so let's work on this method. Okay, so what do we need to do? Okay, so first we need to the collection. Okay, so final user collection, and here we have we need to tell that we need to say which collection. Okay, so there's this users collection. Okay, that is this one. Okay, so this users collection, we need to deal with this users collection, and then what we're telling here Firestore is that give me this collection, and so you have that collection. So what else? The next is to say final users here is to say by, you can just say we have created, I think it's created that, let's see, maybe this one. Okay, so this is just okay, just give me this collection, arrange it by descending to true. Okay, and then what we need to do is to return user collection. I love code completion, but user collection dot snapshot. Okay, it's doing everything. I don't want this. I want dot snapshot. Okay, we need to learn. Okay, so snapshot dot query, and here we're going to put to list. Okay, but let's deal with this inside. Convert everything from here and then put it to list. So here we have query. You can just query and then query docs dot map. Okay, and then we're saying user model because we have that from snapshot. Okay, this is why I don't like I've drawn something here. Okay, so what we're trying to do here is that user collection dot snapshots then map. Okay, inside I want to query, okay, this, and then docs dot map, and then user model from okay, so user model, it was my mistake, it's inside here. Convert this to list. Okay, so we are using a snapshot. This is coming from Cloud Firestore, and then we are converting everything that it's coming from. It's coming this form, okay, and then we're putting it. We are using form snapshot, this method we created, to multiply this data and return it in order for that to understand and do those kind of compilation, and so we can display that. Okay, and then after doing those kind of manipulation, we return this to list, so it will come in form of list. Okay, because we want all of those users that are in Firebase. Okay, so this is how it is. Just this is how you do some query. Okay, here you can do some kind of you can add some queries just to manipulate and bring the information according to your specific needs. Okay, so you can visit the docs to review and try out different ways of dealing with retrieving information. Okay, so from here we are done. Okay, what we need to do is we need to go to repository implementation, and then okay, repository implementation, and then okay, just to okay, so user remote source get user. Okay, so we have already done the implementation here, so after calling it, they will handle the rest. Okay, so after here you go directly to page to presentation, and then to blog. Okay, so that's the next step. Okay, so in blog we know we have event, we have state. Okay, so what we need to do we need to check here in user state. We need to add one thing, okay, because we need to be able to manage the state of all the users, okay. So so we can once we retrieve this information, we can emit the state to list all the users that have been fetched from the Firestore, okay. And you can do all of those kind of manipulations. If maybe you need to delete, you have to, you can be able to do that because you have that state to manage all users, okay. So we need to add one thing here, okay. We are going to call required, okay, list of user, but here we just need user entity. It's okay. Okay, and then we need to once this block is initialized, the initial state should be an empty, okay. So users and then that, and then after defining state, okay, so this state we need because we need to handle the list of users that are coming from Firestore, okay. We are going directly to the event, and then the event we have to define that event, okay. So once this event has been triggered, okay, what do we need to do, okay. So okay, so you kind of like follow the pattern, and you will also do some changes according to your needs, but you have to have those kind of how do you connect different entities and different classes, and to make sure your functionality is okay. Okay, so we have this event, okay. So what we need last is just to run, because we're using code generation, you're using fridge, okay. So we have defined a state, we have defined its initial state, we've had that is going to be a list of an empty users, okay. And then we've defined an event, and we're going to deal with this event to kind of do the functionality of showing that that users do our UI, okay. So we just need to run that, run build runner, okay, build, and then hd to delete conflicts, okay. So it may be hard for now, I know, if you never worked a lot with block and those kind of code generation, but once you have the hang of it, you will be able to implement way much complex stuff. So this use as just a sample of how things are connected, and then you can also do other stuff. You can add other complex functionalities, okay. So after that, we are going to block. So in block, we need to add one thing, as you remember. Block communicate with use cases, okay. So we have defined one, get all user use case, get all use case, and then we add it here, okay. Required this dot create, okay, sorry, dot, okay. And then you have to go directly to dependency injection and make sure you add this dependency from block, because block, once each initialized, each have to make sure it has all of the dependency ready for to work on it, okay. Okay, so before moving on, make sure you add the dependency that block needs now, because we've already had one. So there is this one, we created the user use case. You add it here, and then you define it here, and then you add it, and then you supply with the locate, and then get it to handle the rest, okay. So this is very important, and also it's very it helps us to handle all those kind of initialization before using, you know, one of those classes, okay. Because user block now needs get all user use case to for one of its method that we will define to work, okay. So let's go back here, and then as usual we are going to say on onward. Okay, so we've already add one event, we've defined it, and then we have also did the code generation, and this is called get users. Okay, so you can copy it, or if you remember the name, can. So what you're saying here on this. Okay, so you can say on get. Okay, so you can usually you write everything here, but to keep things much clean, what I used to secret method. Okay, you can just define it elsewhere instead of here for just some cleaning. It's not necessary. Okay, so okay, so here what we need to do is we need to let's call this, let's just leave it future. Okay, future void, and then it's in sync. Okay, so what's the first step? The first step is once this event has been called, we need to emit a state. Okay, so state.copy, and then you can say the status of user is loading. Okay, and then we can just wrap it in try and catch, and then we can say final user stream. Okay, maybe just call users stream, any name. Okay, response. Okay, and then you can say get all users use case, and then call. Okay, and then okay, so what we need to do here, we're going to say await, because you have to remember we're dealing with stream. Okay, so you can say await. Okay, so for final users in user stream. Okay, emit. Oh, that's good. No, it's supposed to be user. What is something missing here? We can just call this one user created. Okay, no. Let's just add loaded user. Okay, user loaded, and then I think here, I don't know if it's going to know it. We need to do some code generation. Okay, so I just want to, let's do this. Let's do another code generation because we already had something there, then that would run. Okay, so what this await for, it will always be it's because we're dealing with stream, if we're going to like looping. Okay, so if there's anything added, then it's going to go to loop and then add it, loop and then okay. Okay, we're waiting. Okay, I think we can do, it's going to know that it's loaded. Okay, where is your cursor? Okay, loaded. Okay, so okay, so this is because it's a stream, so we put it in this way, so we make sure we continue to listen, and it will continue to give us any information that is coming from Firestore. Okay, so there are many ways of dealing with stream. Others use stream subscription, then they continue to listen from that stream, and then they close it. If you are no longer in that particular block. So there's different ways to deal with stream. Okay, so for here we're done. Okay, here in catch, and I forgot we have to we have to do something here, because we don't know, we can't get we can't get the error that it's coming. So maybe we need to say maybe the string, okay, error, okay, and required, and then here we can say error, it's an MP string, okay. We have to do another code generation. Okay, so I'm doing this because here we need to catch it. We need to say what's the error. Okay, so we need to maybe to while we wait for the code generation, you just put it here, and then I think to string, and then status. Okay, let's wait. Okay, let's wait for the string for the build to finish. Okay, so now look at the pattern. You go to the state, to define your state. You go to event. You define your event. You do code generation. You call whatever the method that is required in order to interact. Any method that you need to interact with to get a particular information. Okay, so you may not need to use case. You may use call directly from any repository you define. Then you call anything to fetch, to send. So there's no need to particularly use this the same way I'm using. There are different ways of doing it. Okay, and like I said, you can use an assignment. You can find how to use stream subscription to deal with stream, and then all that. Okay, so I've deal with that. Define an error, so we can catch the error, and then you display that to the user. But we will have another video that we will do professional ways of error handling, and in a way that it's easy. Okay, so that you have to figure out on the back end how do they return those errors, and then you define that a pattern and all that structure, and then all the errors that are coming, we're going to use error handling, class, and do all those kind of getting those errors in a professional way. Okay, so from here we are done with block. Okay, so we go directly to pages, and then we go to these all users. Okay, so I've defined this. It was just I add code a lot. You will add let's put this dynamic, and then it will fetch all those information that are coming from Firestore, and then it will display that here. Okay, so let's see how to do it. Now what we need to do is we need to interact with UI. Okay, so the first thing to do is just to make sure we make sure block we can access block and all features, okay, for this user block like we did last time. Okay, so just wrap this with you can create. I just created a user wrapper, and then I give all user screen access to user block. Okay, with the help of get it. Okay, for dependency injections, because as you know, it needs these use cases in order for block to be able to work properly. So this will be initialized before using block. Okay, now so what do we need to do? Okay, so what we want to do is this is a script, this is a component, okay, which I created and I showed to you. Okay, so we want to make it dynamic. Okay, so we want to give the information that coming from Firebase. Okay, so what we need to do is what we want when this all user screen has been rendered to fetch all the users that are available on Firestore. Okay, so in block we have already created this method. It will focusing on giving back all our users that are available there for Cloud Firestore. Okay, so let's get to it. Okay, so what we need to do here, if that's the task, then we need to use something called init state. Okay, so init state in Flutter just what to do after this widget has been rendered. Okay, so I have there's this snippet block of, okay, and then we need user block, okay, and then we need to add an event. Okay, as you have to remember this when you're interacting with the event, adding event meaning that like trigger the event. Okay, so you trigger that event, and then when you trigger that event, it will follow this instruction that you have created here, and then it will give you what you need. Okay, so you want when get users event has been called here, okay, on get users, then emit state to loading, and then interact with get all user use case, and then give us all that response that are coming from Firestore. Okay, so after that, what we need to do next is we need to go to this one, to this list view builder. We want this to be dynamic coming from Firestore. As you can see here, it's hard coded. Okay, so we can do so we have something called block builder. Okay, so this is one of the features of block that help us to build the widget based on the state. Okay, so it will it will render the widget according to the state that's coming from the user block. Okay, so what do we need to do? Okay, so I don't know for others, in VS Code you can hit command period, and then you can have this kind of UI that shows you we want to wrap with what. We want to wrap it with block build. Okay, and then you give this user block. Okay, so what we need to do here is there's a couple of things we need to do. First, we want to check if state dot status. Okay, we have access to that now. It's equal to use status, supposed to be use status dot loading. What do we need to do? We need to return let's just enter it. Okay, progress indicator. Okay, so it will do that. If the state is load, user state dot loading, it will show the. Remember to use return. Okay, else if, here you can use else if, you can use switch statement. They both work. Yes, just your preference. Okay, if state dot users is so remember we have this state. Okay, we have this state here on user state. We have something called users. By initially it will be empty when this block is being initialized, and here once we have all users that are coming from Firestore, we will pass here. We'll do state.copy with, it will only interact, it will only change the users in state.user load. That's the meaning of state.copy with. So it will leave the rest as they are if they've not been changes from them, and it will only change this. Okay, so we will supply list of users that are coming from Firestore. Okay, so here we want to give back, we want to put this to be dynamic now. Okay, so if the user is not empty, then show me those users. Okay, and then if nothing, just return for me an empty container. Okay, that's how it is. Always you can start with give and return an empty container when you wrap this with block builder, because if nothing happens, we just want to return an empty container. Okay, So here we need to come and give the list coming from users dot length. Okay, so here it will be dynamic, and then we will come to this padding, and then what we will do is list view here. Okay, so what we will do, we want to inside at an item builder here, we want to pass, okay, those information that are coming from Firestore. Okay, so here what we will need to do is we will say final user entity, okay, and then we give data coming from state.users.index. Okay, so why are you doing this? We just want to clean it because we want the current index on every item on this. Okay, so we want that, and then we can use it there to give, so we have access to name, first name, last name. Here we can just say first name, and if it's, because we have to deal with nullability, null, and so if nothing, if it's null, just give me an empty string. Okay, and here we just say last name. Okay, then okay, so don't stress much. I didn't stress much on the UI, just logic. Okay, so you can make it as much as complex as you want here. Okay, so what we've done is we wrap this list view because we want it to be dynamic, and we want to fetch all the information coming from Cloud Firestore. Okay, so we wrap it with block builder, and then we have access to all the state in block builder, and then we interact with it and only giving back the information that we need. Okay, so if the user store is loading, we can give progress indicator. If it's not empty, then we can give back, we can list all the users that are available in the Firebase. Okay, and also you can say here, I want to see which, you can also say if else if state dot users dot is empty, you can return something, maybe say text. Okay, just say text, and then no data found. Okay, so that's how we can do it. Okay, you can check all the scenarios and give the required information that the user needs to see. Okay, so now let's I think for here we're done. Let's test this and see if once we render our all users screen, if we will see the information coming from Firestore. Okay, so first before moving, I'll just use this now on the main because that has been changed. Okay, all users wrapper, and then everything will be will work. Okay, so let's test and then let's see if we're having any issue. I've run my app. Okay, you can see now it brings a list of all users. Okay, so it's working fine. Okay, and one thing I added, I want to show you that Firebase we have this advantage of real-time streaming, you know. So I added this. So what I'm saying here is once we created successfully a user, we want to navigate back to a previous screen. Okay, so when you navigate to one screen to another, you're creating a history of screen, a stack that they will be on top of each other. So when you say navigate to pop, it will bring you back to the previous screen. Okay, so the previous screen is the home screen. So so here what we're doing, just after a user has been created, we're going to refresh. There's no need to refresh because Cloud Store gives you real-time information. You will see the user will be coming here on top, and the user coming on top always when you create one new user is because we did something called we did some filtering here. Okay, so it will be created that it's descending to true. Okay, so anytime you add new user, the user will be on top. Okay, so let's try. Okay, so okay, now if I want to refresh this, and you have to see here on the screen. Okay, so we trigger the user event dot get users, and then here, once this screen has been rendered, it will do some bit of a refresh, and then it will give you all the users that are coming from Firestore. It happens so quickly because of I think maybe the internet, or the information is not that much big. Okay, so let's go to adding user, and then let's give something here, John user. Okay, just a random name, John at Gmail. Okay, and then just give the first name John. Okay, let's give just John. Okay, so you have to notice here, if you're doing normal APIs with servers and all that, by default they don't give you real-time capabilities. Okay, so you will have to refresh. Okay, so you can see on my previous videos, there's other videos that I deal with interacting with APIs. I had to do some refresh. You have to refresh so the API can pull information again that are coming from the database. But here with Firestore, there's no need to do that because you have real-time listening capabilities. Okay, so when you click add user created successfully, and then it will become the user will come here on top. Okay, so that's a good thing of Firebase. That's why it's very easy to build chat apps and all that, because we have real-time capabilities. Otherwise, in the normal server and API development, you have to add more of complexity to have these kind of capabilities. Okay, so you can see now we've listed all the users. All the users are coming from Firebase. Everything is working fine. Okay, okay, and also here there are all the users that we created. Okay, that's working. That's good. So here I want to give one example of deleting. I want to try to just delete a user, and after that reading, updating, all those will be, I will share that on the source code, so you can see it's just the same flow, but just different stuffs that are changing, not much. So I will add one more example here to delete a user, just to see a couple of Firebase data manipulation stuffs, and then I will share the source code, and then you can see the rest of the read and also update. Okay, and later on, if I will have time, I will also start doing testing for Firebase. So the code will be updated, or I will just create another video to show how do we tackle testing for Firebase and all those stuffs. Okay, so let's do one more example, and then the rest I will leave it on the source code. You can review and check, and you can use and add more complexity if you want. Okay, now I want to show you how to delete a user, okay, on Firebase. Okay, so it should work like this. So when you swipe like this, you should want to delete, yes, and then after that user delete successful. Okay, so I'm going to walk you through everything from all the steps because they are similar, so I don't want to do coding that will take time. Okay, so we implemented, what I've implemented here is just to delete a user from Firestore. Okay, so the steps. Okay, so the first steps, always you have to go to domain and define that interface. Okay, so user, and then you go to domain. Okay, we don't need an entity here, it's always the same entity, but what we need to start to add is the delete user. Okay, so you add this delete user, it accepts one parameter of an ID, you can call it UID or ID. Okay, and then you go to define use case for it. Okay, delete user. Okay, and then the same, but it's going to use case with params, and then you need to pass that an ID here, and then you add its dependency of user repository, then you call delete user. Okay, so from here you are done. Okay, and then the next step, you go to data layer, and then you go to data source, you go to user remote source and interface class, and then you add this. Okay, so the same flow. Okay, it's just different, you add any parameter or anything that you want to interact with it. Okay, and then you go to user remote source implementation, and then you work with it. So here it's just the same, you grab the user collection, and then you fetch the document with this ID, and then you delete. Okay, so these are just for debugging purpose and make sure everything is working fine. Okay, I think if you will delete, we will see. Okay, so just this is the only thing that I had to explain, because everything is just the same flow. Here on Firebase we use delete. Okay, you grab that document and then you delete it. Okay, so you can check your Firebase docs for manipulating data and querying and all that. Okay, and then after here we go to the repository in the data layer. Okay, and then you add this. Okay, so you call delete user, and then it's going to use user remote source delete user. Okay, so you are done with data layer and the domain layer. Okay, these are the only things you need to add, and then you go to blog. So in blog, always when you need to do something in blog, you have to make sure the state and the event are all already defined. So in state, what do you think we need? We just need a boolean to say user deleted. Okay, so you trigger this state, you emit the state if user deleted successfully. Okay, and then here initial, meaning when this user block is loaded, the initial is going to be user deleted to false. Okay, and then you go to event, and then you define that event, and then you pass the param that it needs. It's a UID, a string. Okay, the same. And after this, you go to I think you go to that. You go to this. You run this command, and then it's going to generate for you all the necessary things. Okay. After done, and then you go back to user block, and then you add use case for delete user use case here, and you have to pass it as required. This is important because it helps us in testing. Once we start testing. Okay, so all of this, they may be generated by mock generators. Okay, so that's why I have to define this. Okay, so and then on delete user event, you define this method. So what is it happening here? Okay, so here is you emit a state loading just for user experience, and then you can call user delete to false. You need to change it to false because we're going to see. Okay, so you call delete user use case, you pass an event, which the event, it needs a param of UID, so you have access to it here, and then you you emit the state to user delete to true. So if you emit this, it will always be true. So that's why always when you are calling on delete user, you change it back to its default, and then so that doesn't cause issues. Okay, and then here, if there's an error, you pass an error here, and then you just pass the error. Okay, so you are done with here, and the last step is going to the page. Okay, so in the page, I want to show you what I've added is something called dismissible. Okay, I added inside item builder. The last thing we had is padding and all this component. This one, the entire component. So I just add this dismissible. Okay, so it has some couple of stuffs. The key, it has to know which key. So when you are swiping, it knows that this is a key I have to deal with. Okay, so directional end to status, meaning like this. Okay, so end to status, and then background. Okay, we can define the background here. We define the background to red. Okay, and then confirm dismiss, this one. So confirm dismiss, when you swipe it, and then it's going to say, are you sure you want to delete? You can say no for now. So it has a pickup of params. It's just a show dialog, and inside the show dialog we have to wrap the alert dialog with block provider, so we have access to user block. Okay, so here just normal alert dialog, text button no. If no, then context.pop to false. If it's true, as usual, when you're dealing with button, I always use block consumer. Then here in the button on pressed, I add this event user delete. Okay, so we pass the data.id. This you're getting from here on this. Okay, here. Okay, and then once you hit this, you trigger this event, it's going to delete, and if it's successful, it's going to say to you, if user deleted is true, meaning this is meaning user deleted is true, then it's going to show user delete false. It's going to show you a snack bar that the operation has happened successfully. Then here, if you are deleting it, it's going to show you a linear progress indicator. Okay, then here just return confirmed. So the only thing I've added is this dismissible. You can always go and check more documentation on it. Okay, and then it will delete. Okay, so we're going to have, so when you swipe, then it's going to say yes, I should want to delete, yes, and then here you remember if the user is empty, no data found. Okay, so let's add one. Okay, Joe, also you can confirm on the here there is no collection. Okay, this is good. And then so here you say use John, you can say John at Gmail. Okay, so you can, anything you can write here. There is no much complex validation here, so you can just say John, and then okay, John Doe. Okay, and then just hit add. Okay, here, and then it will pop up here. Okay, so that's it. Okay, so I will add more. I think I can add to read and update, and then I will share the source code so you can see. Okay, so that's it, and we will continue to see more of the service that Firebase provide. We're going to see authentication, we're going to see Google authentication, normal authentication, dealing with file storage, uploading, and all that stuff. Okay, so thank you very much. Don't forget to subscribe and like the video.